Sahana bhavatu, sahanau bhunaktu, saha viryam karavavahai, tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Chaiva Tato Jayamudiraye. Jai Gurudev. Hari Om. Yeah, let each of us share our one sentence. We share our takeaway and then we'll go on with the shlokas.
Hari Om, I am truly overwhelmed by Nanaji's this last advice. I'm going to put it in practice from today itself. Like not only for food, for everything. I think there is so much for everybody's need, but not for everybody's greed, no? Universe has everything in abundance for us, but everybody, if we continue with this practice, that we can take just as man, we can maintain that love for whatever thing or person or situation. So it's very beautiful. And today so many, I mean, it's very beautiful to contemplate the whole day and to remain in that state. Dhanyavad.
He said, no, for manasa, vacha, karmana, even for talking or keeping the mouth, it is so important to not waste our means. I didn't means we should not speak also that. Why to waste our energy on that thing also, on speaking? That I like most.
I like that Shabda, Shabda, what is that? Because everything we act on hearing something from there, oh, it is so good. Oh, then only we'll be attached, So Shabda is very, very, though we hear, say when we go into the meditation, we hear the sound and we transcend the sound. That is, means we need not have to be leaving the sound, but we transcend the sound. That is what the meaning is, giving up the Shabda. So I like that very much, because we are attracted by Shabda only. Oh, that Shabda, oh, car has come, means he has come. Who has come in the car? So our mind goes on dissecting it. Means we go beyond whatever hearing a car sound. Oh, this fellow has come. So he has come with his wife, and then it just. So we have to accept the Shabda, and beyond the Shabda we go silent. We just forget it. Then we go into our mind, body complex. Very nice it is.
Very beautiful. For me, I had the clarity because yesterday when we were reading the chapter, shloka number 46, Siddhim Vindati Manavaha Swakarmana Tamabhyarcha. So, what if someone is not doing their swadharma and then they're still practicing it as karma yoga? Will it still amount to that? That question that I had was very clearly got the clarity there, wherein whatever you're doing, if it is giving you that inner fulfillment, you're not left with regret. And that it also actually swadharma and swakarma at a point actually merge. So if you're able to do that, then that becomes swadharma plus and also swakarma.
So it is said, no, if you don't love your work, that job satisfaction, they say. You see, you start loving your work, then automatically it becomes your sadharma.
Mm.
If you don't start loving it, then it is not your sadharma. Whenever anything you start doing it, if you
Correct.
don't love it.
Correct. What Nana actually asked was, he said, when I told him about the roles and responsibilities, he said, yeah, that's all born of attachment. So what else? And then you do the niyata karma, shastra vihita karma, and then path of knowledge. So he says, yes, that is also your swadharma. It is not just fulfilling your roles and responsibilities. You're actually beyond that. Your swadharma is to know your true nature. He didn't mention that, but that mumukshutvam means that. So you're pursuing the path of knowledge while doing all of this. And then you're left with that happiness and satisfaction. You don't feel regret. And if at all there is something that you do that you have some guilt about, then you should have the courage to kind of talk to that person with whomever you have interacted and iron it out and say, this is what has happened. Then you are absolved of the guilt. You don't need to announce it to the whole world, but that one person or whoever it is that you have had that the situation that has created that guilt in you, that pinch in you, you'll have to rectify that. So it is like doing prayashchitta for whatever you've done, whatever not right you have done. And this dhriti is so beautiful, the sattvika dhriti that keeps you on the path. That is, I was actually applying it to our Manana sessions also. So unless all of us here have that sattvika dhriti, we will not keep the Manana going in the right direction. Sometimes it can get distracted, deviated. So we will need to, with that alertness, awareness, keep the dhriti on what is being discussed. Anybody else wants to share?
Yeah, I just wanted to share that when Nanaji mentioned about sound, no, and then there are unpleasant sounds like, say, I have a playground in front of my house, and they do this disco dandiya on Navratri in the night time. Most of the days it is still 10:30, okay, bearable. But when it goes on till last 2 days for 12 o'clock, it's not bearable. So the rag dvesh part of it connected with sound, like so pleasant, unpleasant, both. I find it unpleasant. Like I have not been able to give it up. Like mind does get disturbed with that disco dandiya kind of music. Very loud in the ground.
But if you give up, you will not sleep. So forget
Sorry?
it. If you don't give up, that if you are attached, it means, oh, why it is, that is attachment again. You see?
No, it's not
Okay.
why. Just I mean, can't tolerate that kind of a loud noise.
So then
It's
accept.
like even with all the windows closed and right up
No,
till the bedroom, the sound comes like till 12 o'clock at night. So
it is okay. But if
huh.
you say it is there, you'll forget and sleep.
Like
Yeah,
That is
but
what.
that has been my weakness. I'm saying I have not been able to
Yeah,
overcome it yet.
correct. That is true. So I think when we, like what we do when we sit for meditation, we accept noises in
Accept.
the surrounding. So when we accept, then they may not disturb us as much. It happens to me
True.
also when I'm meditating inadvertently. It's not like intentionally. Prem might come into the room and then open a curtain or close a window and all that. And actually there is that immediate, that the anger,
Huh.
honestly, anger comes up. doesn't he know I'm meditating? Why is he coming and doing all this? And then I say, where is my sadhana going if I'm getting
Yeah.
angry with every little thing? So then I complete the meditation, and then afterwards, earlier I would go and some years ago, I would go and complain. I said, why did you do that? But the other day I went up to him and I said, can you be a little more mindful, a little more sensitive when one is meditating? You avoid, if you can avoid coming into the room and doing things, it'll be much better. So I was able to, with that calm state of mind, put across what was actually disturbing me. Rather than say it out of aversion, say it out of anger, I was able to say it. So this little change I found in my own self, what it was few years ago to what it is in the last, in the recent past. So
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
if we are ourselves calm, and then acceptance is the key, I guess. I said, even if that is there, sometimes that is why Gurudev says, you of course find a nice place, ekaki at the Chittatma, where there's no disturbance. That is the most ideal for us to meditate. But not every time do you get such a place. You might have some sudden noise coming up. Then for that also, there is a solution. You either take, if you're doing your sahaj, you take your mantra and go back. And the
No,
whole
that
thing
is,
is about sadhana. No, see, the
yeah,
reason why we are put in through all that, every situation, like Gurudev says, everything that you're going through, every situation, every person that you are dealing with is put there for your own growth. So if we can use those as our practical tools to um, deepen our sadhana, to deepen our dhriti, then it would be helpful. And then there's awareness also, that you very beautifully got this awareness that you have the dvesha, the aversion for the sound.
Yeah, I
that
would
is
like
the,
to
Gurudev.
share
Itself,
Jai
something.
Gurudev.
excuse me,
Jai
just a
Gurudev.
second. Yeah,
Here I want to add little bit to Percy Bhaiya's experience. It is actually Brahmaraji social menace happening because as the technology is going up, it is the misuse of technology which is happening. They are using the speakers walls. Miss वो wall तैयार करते हैं on the top of it, one on the top of it, 10, 20 feet wall of speakers, and the whole building vibrates, and in the middle of the night. Even for Ganpati Visarjan, if you are in Pune, it is not, it is a crime actually, because it is means beyond anybody's ear's tolerance, the music, the decibels is. So it is a social menace we need to address to it. It is like we get so much shaken up from within that it takes very long time to settle back again. So I can totally relate to what Percy Bhaiya is saying. When the whole building is shaking up, it is impossible. Even the car ka glass breaks, window glass, if you go nearby to that sound wall. So this is something kitna bhi accept karo, you cannot.
yeah,
It is
then
beyond a human
not
nervous
passive
system's
acceptance. No,
capacity.
then maybe you should go and represent and speak to the municipality or whoever the powers to be, and get some regulations regarding the sound.
No, easier said than done. I had
I know,
made
it's easier
police
said.
complaint. There's a court judgment which has gone against sound pollution that has been cited, but the municipality permission is there. So the police blame it on the municipality. The municipality say, oh, senior citizens have come, give them a cup of tea. And then they try to talk us out of it. Nothing. They have got certain fixed days which they can give the playground away for such community events. And they exceed those number of days, they break the rules, but there is nothing that the common people can do. They even go against the court judgment. Court has been after them, the High Court, for such
Then
sound
maybe
pollution.
if you've already done this, then you
Yeah,
will have to
Purshat
do
kar
the other
liya.
one is protect your ears and maybe use ear plugs and things like that. So
Nothing
basically,
works. Nothing works. The sound level is so high, like somebody from Pune mentioned. I mean, yeah, it's a weakness with me. I realize that it's a weakness with me. I I get disturbed with that sound pollution. I
Mm,
don't get sleep. One has to learn to bear it. Like,
yeah. No,
but that
correct.
non-acceptance to that sound level is there, to that disco music. It's not like some classical music which would be enjoyable, which would put us to sleep. Like, this is like a real heavy bass kind of thing. Like Nanaji was talking about jazz music or something, or the Beatles playing those harsh guitar sounds. That is a little difficult to tolerate for a long period of time, from say 7 o'clock till 12 o'clock.
I know, I can relate to that.
I too completely agree. Even here in Gujarat, it is the same. I experienced, I complained, but it's of no use. My in-laws are very old, and it was so bad, the impact of sound. So many times it's been complained, but it's of no use.
But here, going beyond this, the reason why Bhagwan may have used the word sound is because the space is the first of the 5 elements uh, that is created. So if we are able to go beyond space, then see, getting in control of the other sense objects, like your taste, your touch, taste, and what else? The sight, smell. All this might be easier, but then getting out of sound probably a little mm, is a little difficult, challenging. Like how Sureshji very rightly said, your mind gets carried away by what you hear, and that is where the raga and dvesha starts from there. So if you're able to have a say on your the sense organ of sound and whatever comes from that, then that you would have actually got that mastery of yourself. Probably that is, I'm just thinking of that as why he's used shabdadi vishayan, why he used shabda as the first thing. He could have used grana, or he could have used parsha or something else, right? So
That is the story, no? That Madhusudana, Gurudev has said that the ear wax.
mm,
You must have all heard that story.
Madhukaitaba,
That
no?
Madhu and Kaitaba.
Mm,
So Ragadvesha starts from what you hear.
right. Nice. So we started from 49, I think, today, no? 49 we did yesterday, I think, but maybe we'll just go through that. Yeah. Asakta buddhi sarvatra jitatma vigata spruhaha naishkarmya siddhim paramam sanyasenadhigacchati. Sarvatra, everywhere. Asakta buddhi, the one whose mind is free from attachment. Jitatma, the one who has self-mastery. Vigata spruhaha, the one from whom longing has gone. Sanyasena, by renunciation. Naishkarmya siddhim paramam, the most exalted accomplishment of actionlessness. Adhigacchati, gains. The one whose mind is free from attachment everywhere, who has self-mastery, and from whom longing has gone, gains the most exalted accomplishment of actionlessness by renunciation. Siddhim prapto yatha brahma tathapnoti nibodha me samasenaiva kaunteya nishta jnanasya ya para. Kaunteya, O son of Kunti, Arjuna, Siddhim Praptaha, the one who has gained the accomplishment of Antakarana Shuddhi, Yatha, how? Jnanasya Yapara Nishta, that which is the ultimate certainty of knowledge, Brahma, Brahman, apnoti, he gains, tatha, just so, samasena eva, just in brief, me nibodha, learn from me. So although Bhagavan is summarizing the whole of the last 17 chapters, he's used the word samasena, that is in brief, so that Arjuna would, like, he wanted Arjuna to listen to him. He's talking to him in brief. How the one who has gained the accomplishment of Antakarna Shuddhi gains the ultimate certainty of the knowledge, that is Brahman, learn from me in brief, O son of Kunti. बुद्ध्या विशुद्धया युक्तो धृत्यात्मानं नियम्य च शब्दादीन् विषयान् त्यक्त्वा रागद्वेषौ व्युधस्य च. Vishuddhaya buddhya, with a mind that is very clear. Yuktaha, the one who is endowed. Dhritya, with firm resolve. Atmanam, the body, mind, sense complex. Niyamya, mastering, cha, and Shabdadin Vishayan, all sense objects beginning with sound, Tyaktva, giving up, Ragadveshau, likes and dislikes, Vyudhasya cha, and giving up. The one who endowed with a mind that is very clear, mastering the body, mind, sense complex, being endowed with firm resolve, and giving up the sense objects such as sound, etc., and giving up likes and dislikes. Viviktasevi ladvashi yatavakkaya manasaha dhyana yoga paro nityam vairagyam samupashritaha. Vivikta Sevi, one who lives in a quiet place. Ladvashi, Lagvashi, one who eats lightly. Yata Vak Kaya Manasaha, one whose speech, body, and mind are mastered. Dhyana Yoga Paraha, one who is committed to contemplation. Nityam, always. Vairagyam, freedom from longing. Samupashritaha, who has completely resorted to. The one who lives in a quiet place, who eats lightly, whose speech, body, and mind are mastered, who is always committed to contemplation, who has completely resorted to freedom from longing. You know, here there was a lot of important pointers for us as sadhaks. One is Vivikta Sevi Ladvashi. Vivikta Sevi is to Arati Jana Samsadi, is what he had mentioned, is not longing to be in the company of people. And it's so beautiful. Even Swamiji had mentioned, Swami Chinmayananda, I think in the beginning of Atma Bodh had mentioned how in order to escape your own self, you find this and that distraction. Even in the name of religion, you tend to go to pilgrimages, do this, do that. But then it requires that intellectual honesty and that, to sit with yourself and question and go deeper within this, with the spirit of inquiry. Who am I? What is this? What is happening? What is the mind? What is the body? All those things, unless you sit with yourself, by yourself, you will not be able to get to that contemplative state. So instead, if you are all the time in the company of people, it is like it is feeding your ego. And then you feel happy. It is a false sense of security there, isn't it? Whereas, but that is why even Gurudev says, he says, if you cannot be by yourself, if your own company bores you, then how much more boring you must be to others. So Vivikta Sevi, being with yourself in a quiet place. Lagvashi, one who eats lightly. Half the stomach is solid, 1/4 is liquid, and the other quarter has to be left for air. It is like the mixie that we use. If your mixie is, your blender is, you filled it up to full capacity, it will not move. You have to leave the upper quarter empty, and you add water again. So it's so beautiful. If you just imagine our stomach of course is like a blender only. So we apply that and then we put it into practice, and then lagwashi, eating lightly. The second time you want to eat, take a second helping. That is when, if we can say no, then not only have you had a say over your, kind of mastered your sense of taste, mastered your mind as well. And you will allow that the taste to linger, as in, otherwise every extra helping you take, the actual taste of it, the initial taste that you had, that you enjoyed, will actually start diminishing. Like for instance, you're taking the 4th gulab jamun, that becomes so distasteful. So like what Nana had mentioned, his guru had told him, is to let that taste linger in your mind. Stop with just one helping. So yata vak kaya manasaha, one whose speech, body and mind are mastered. Dhyana yoga paraha, one who is committed to contemplation. Nityam, always. Vairagyam, freedom from longing. Samupashrita, who is completely mastered. The one who lives in a quiet place, who eats lightly, whose speech, body and mind are mastered, who is always committed to contemplation, who has completely resorted to freedom from longing.
Brahmradi, even Gurudev says in Ashtavarkar, beginning of the starting the first chapter, the one who is cultured in speech, disciplined in body and mind, can only listen to Ashtavarkar Gita.
Correct. That is true. Unless, see, all that is pointing to what? To pointing to a sattvic dhriti, isn't it? So unless your mind is clear and you have that sense of discipline, and you have a say over your speech, unless you bring your mind to that sattvic dhriti, this knowledge will not seep in. You may be listening to it, but it will not have its effect, because your mind is going on its own journey, on its own thing. If you're held up in the tamasic or the rajasic dhriti, first of all, I think those that have tamasic and rajasic dhriti may not even come close to this knowledge. But in order to be a proper path, to be eligible for this, that sattvic dhriti is so important. Anyone wants to share? What I felt today was another thing was, he says, it is by force of habit, where it was very subtle. The whole thing was, instead of being with the truth, you, because of force of habit, that you are with the unreal.
Chanting shloka, few more slokas than
Chanting
you are.
shlokas. See, I knew I had to stop at 30, but because Nana was muted and I didn't know whether he was able to hear what I was saying. So I said, okay, let me continue chanting. But then for me, what it was, that thing was very subtle, that I'm not getting the same terms, but then it is your force of habit that you take, that you do what you do. I'm not sure whether I'm getting it across, but
isn't that the good habit? Because we have felt that, no, that chanting makes so much difference in your.
no, it's not about chanting per se, Belaji. It is that Nana had told me to stop at 30 and he will take on from 30. Forget this chanting today. It is not about chanting. For me, when I forget to share the Zoom on Zoom, I'm chanting, for instance, this happened a couple of times. And one of you had to remind me it's not, we are not able to see. So there, it is the force of my habit there that has, how do I put it? You're not alert to the truth. You're not alert to reality. It is like force of habit. You just do what you do. We'll have to ask Nana to repeat that tomorrow. I'm not able to get that thing across, but that is a very beautiful, subtle point in that how
He
we
said
tend to
something
do
about
things.
Vivaritas.
Huh?
No, no. Vivaritas something. Vivarita. That is
Viparita,
called some name. He said it's a force of habit. Like
force of
Vivarita.
habit.
Yeah. Like you do what you normally do. Like, I
Yeah, you're
mean,
not in the moments.
it's more
See, it
like a
only
spinal reflex, like
correct.
sometimes when you try to do, like, you get on your car, you drive to your work every day, the minute you get in the car, you start, and you may not even remember you cross the road until you get to the work. Sometimes it happens to me because your mind kind of goes into something, and then automatically your spinal reflex, like it automatically know the route, and you just drive that in the
So
same direction.
basically, correct.
Yeah,
I think it only means that you're not in the moment.
moment. Yeah,
You're taken up by the force of habit.
right. Like you are talking about when you try to you think you shared the
Share.
screen, but you didn't
I did.
share the screen. That
Correct.
is that what you're talking about? Okay.
Correct. That split second, because
Yeah.
I'm unaware of the thing. And if
Mm,
if my mind is not in the present, of
right.
course this is what is going to happen. So maybe
Yeah.
tomorrow we'll ask him to just clarify
Yeah,
that
you're
detail.
right. When we are not in that moment, your mind is taken off somewhere, or you think or if you're multitasking, if you're doing two things at the same time, um, obviously one, we think we did it. It happens many times, when you're cooking, yeah, you're doing two, three dishes at the same time. You think you added the salt already, and then you have to remember, did I add it or not?
Correct.
Yeah, it happens. Yeah. Mhm.
Mm.
Sometimes
Yeah.
too much engrossed in something also, we may forget.
But yeah, if you're mindful, as actually per se, we all talk about multitasking, but now really you can only do one thing at a time. Actually, given to your mind, you can only do one thing properly at one time at a given time. So we always say, oh, we are multitasking, but then you are bound to miss something at that time.
Very nice. So we go back to our chapter 18. I should apologize that I have not yet shared Percy G's notes of prana to all of you. I've actually created a group. Where I got stuck was I created a group on my email where I added all the addresses. So it'd be easy for me to just send to this. I'm kind of lost. I don't know where and how to retrieve that group. I found it in the labels, but I'm not able to find the email addresses there. So please bear with me, give me a few days. Maybe by end of this week, I'll be able to retrieve. Percy ji, I would think I will first share the email with everyone. Each of us will go through that, and then probably we will come up and then we'll discuss that. I will share the screen. I think that will be um, more effective and more meaningful rather than just sharing it on the screen right now. Yeah. Should we do that?
Yes, Brahmaraji, that is very nice idea. So that we, whatever terms or understanding we are not having, that we can
Yeah.
talk at the presentation time.
Correct. Sarlaji, can you please send me on WhatsApp on your email ID? Also, Maltiji, you send me your email ID.
Yes,
Brahmaraji. Yeah.
Yes, Brahmaraji.
Yes.
I'll send my email.
Yes.
You may be missing out on your messages because I find that you're losing your the PDFs time and again. So maybe if you send your email ID, I will share it directly with you on your email. So then it will be with you in your.
Thank you so much, Brahmaraji. Really appreciate it.
So yesterday we stopped here. Even Vijayji has asked me for. I will send it to you. Just give me a little time on that. This is the first lab. Where did we start? Stop. Yeah, I'm just going to read the last para for us to get back the context. The Veda says all this is for one's growth alone. If I talk about moksha to a person who's interested only in arthas and kamas, securities and pleasures, and not ready for moksha, he will sympathize with me thinking I have missed out on life. So you have to be ready and understand that the Veda says that even though you go for security, artha, and pleasure, kama, you should not give up dharma. In adhering to dharma, you will learn to yield a lot because likes and dislikes, ragas and dveshas have to be thrown into the background when duties have to be done. What is prohibited, nishiddha karma, has to be avoided, and what is enjoined, vihita karma, has to be done. One may even do kamya karma, but not at the cost of dharma. This is the first lap of a human journey. Next, the Veda and the Gita tell us that this is all useless. Yata iha karma chito loka kshiyate, tatha amutra punya chito loka kshiyate. Even though a person may have been performing rituals for limited ends, he would have been repeating the Upanishad mantras, which would give him some vague knowledge of moksha and also Ishvara's grace. That will bless him with viveka, discrimination, after which the inquiry really starts. So I'm just wondering why he says the Gita tells us that all this is useless. Yeah, correct. All this, or the things, the pursuit of artha and kama and is in turn, it's only bringing us back into the cycle of birth and death. But then, once that viveka dawns, then the actual inquiry starts. But then the bottom line is dharma has to precede even your pursuits of artha and kama, kamya karma, if you want to do. It has to be dharmic. If I remember, Percy ji had asked once long back about someone performing yajnas or homas so that their children get good marks and they, as that is fine. It's a kamya karma they're doing, as long as they're doing it in a dharmic way. They're not doing this and getting the question paper or well before the exam. That would become an adharmic way. Whereas they're doing the homa with the pure intention that their child does well in their exams, and they allow and create the space for the child to learn and study. And then they do the homa. That is actually a dharmic homa, isn't it? That is allowed. But if you're adharmic in your pursuit, then that is not in line with dharma. Inquiry into the ultimate human end. What is the inquiry? The fundamental inquiry is into what exactly one wants in life. Purushartha vichara. even if a person discerns that he wants liberation, moksha, we have to look into what he means by liberation. For some, it amounts to a desire to go to heaven. It may not even be a well thought out positive desire for heaven as the end in life, but more a fear of going to hell as it is presented to him. Even that has to be inquired into. What is this hell they're talking about? Even though it is a belief, it has to be reasonable. Hell means painful experience, as heaven means pleasant experience. Both are finite, and being experienced cannot possibly be eternal. This is called Purushartha Vichara. Once a person understands that he cannot do anything to gain the eternal, his way of life changes. Until now, all his energy and time have been invested in the pursuit of artha, kama, and dharma or punya. Now everything is turned towards moksha because he has learned from analyzing his experiences and the experiences of others that no experience is going to help him. Many people do not learn even from their own experiences. This is another wonder. Even though all his predecessors have passed away, all the fellow knows very well that he's standing in the queue. Still, he cannot think that he is also going to pass away. This is the greatest wonder. This is the power of Maya. When a person sees through all that, naturally, whatever time he has is going to be invested in moksha. He has not sacrificed anything. He has just dropped what is not useful to him. What you do not have value for is not given up by you. You can talk about giving up if you give up something for which you have a value. But what can you say about parting with your garbage? If you have a value for moksha, what do you give up? Nothing. This is so beautiful, right?
Yeah, it's alarming, no?
See, basically,
Dr. Zamra, can
right?
you explain the
Yeah, actually,
moksha
I will
part?
read. Yeah, I will actually read this again. Inquiry into the ultimate human end. What is the inquiry? The fundamental inquiry is into what exactly one wants in life. Purushartha Vichara. Even if a person discerns that he wants liberation, moksha, we have to look into what he means by liberation. For some, it amounts to a desire to go to heaven. It may not even be a well thought out positive desire for heaven as the end in life, but more a fear of going to hell as it is presented to him. Even that has to be inquired into. What is this hell they're talking about? Even though it is a belief, it has to be reasonable. Hell means painful experience, as heaven means pleasant experience. Both are finite, and being experienced cannot possibly be eternal. This is called Purushartha Vichara. Once a person understands that he cannot do anything to gain the eternal, his way of life changes. So basically, until now, what Swamiji is saying is this Purushartha Vichara is very important. What is it? We all think we are mumukshus, but what is moksha according to each one of us? What is that liberation? Freedom, we think of it. We know it only as a concept, but what is it actually? For some of us, it might just be wanting to go to heaven. And for others, it might be avoiding hell, because that is what we've been taught right from our childhood. Concepts of punya, papa. So you want to do good things, you want to do, be along, do things that will take you to that will give you punya. So all these are beliefs, but punya, papa, both are experiences. One is painful, one is a pleasant experience. Papa is a painful experience. But every experience has a limitation. It has a beginning, it sustains for some time, and it ends. So it is not eternal. So what do we mean by moksha? Moksha is something that is eternal, isn't it? So once a person understands that you cannot do anything to gain the eternal, that is what the whole of Atma Bodh has been talking about. You cannot do through karma, you cannot gain moksha. It is only through jnana that you can gain moksha. So once you
Yeah, so
understand,
I just want to say a couple of things here.
yeah,
Ramana. So the
yeah,
moksha means that basically it's a freedom from all this, I mean, suffering, despair, or the dependence, all kinds of stuff, So that moksha means that freedom from that. But to attain that freedom, that you need the knowledge. That is the self-knowledge. So that self-knowledge has to be acquired by this having antakarna shuddhi and leaving raga dveshas, attachments, and that's what we were talking about, that Atmabodh, the first sloka, and being calm, and what was the other one? Santanam, raga vita, vita ragina.
the ragina.
Yeah. So that's what I wanted to tell you. Even that Vitaraginam, even with that one word, that Vitaraginam is also encloses this Viveka, Vairagya, which follows Viveka. And then what was the other one? What Vitaraginam? Mumukshitvam. That the fourth one is the Mumukshitvam. Yeah. So that's the four things. Sorry, that's what, when she asked what moksha is, that moksha is basically, the freedom we talk about.
Yeah. See, one thing as understanding moksha is freedom from misery, which is like misery here can be likened to hell. It's a painful experience, right? So that is one
And it
moksha.
actually encompasses all kinds of things, and basically, yeah, in this life, whatever the life itself, this birth and death itself, like that kind of a suffering, right? I mean, it's not always smooth sailing, right, throughout. So whatever that is, so we are getting out from. Yeah.
Purushartha vichara is to inquire, am I longing for pleasurable experiences, wanting happiness all the time, or is it wanting freedom from misery? Both are experiences, isn't it? So moksha is actually going beyond that. Moksha is understanding that you are the karana karanaya, the cause of the causes, the cause of every other cause in the world, the cause of every other thing. So that is actually moksha, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
Basically, again, different interpretations, but yeah, we all feel at some stage in life that we are bound, right? There is the bondage, feeling of bondage. That bondage, or getting out of that bondage, is what is moksha or liberation, or whatever we call it, right? So if some people, we can think of it as bondage of the cycle of birth and death, bondage to the body, bondage to the mind. We are bound in different ways, right? If you really look at our life, we are bound. We feel that there is something, we are looking for that limitless joy, and we are trying to get it from this material world, which is not possible. That is, this knowledge of self-knowledge is essentially saying we are all seeking that eternal bliss, but seeking it in the wrong place. It's like a misplaced search. The moment you go in, you don't have to go anywhere actually. Once you realize that, then you are complete. You are the whole. That is what, that feeling of you being whole, limitless, is moksha. And that is what we are all pursuing. Whatever we are doing in life, whether it's earning money, going to places, establishing whatever, or having relationships, all this is to feel that completeness. But that completeness cannot come from that. That is what Shastras are telling us. But we are still going in that direction, thinking, no, I'll get it. By getting this, I will get that. By having this relationship, I'll get it. But that's where that journey going outwards has to now go inwards. So there again, we have to decide what is our priority in terms of the Purusharthas. Moksha comes at what number? If it's lower down, yeah, it will take time. Someday it will happen. But if that's your topmost priority, then the way we conduct life will be very different. Somebody said very interestingly, he said, in this journey, if moksha is your top priority, you have to be selfish. So selfish is a very negative term, right? But the person said selfish, meaning it's the wish of the self. So meaning he just played with the words. I'm not saying selfish means that, but that means you will do everything keeping that in mind. You will still conduct, you will do all your duties, you will do everything that needs to be done. But top priority is this, that's your true north. From there you don't deviate. So doing everything, keeping that in mind, like the tanpura that plays in the background, then it will be very different. Life will be very different.
That is very beautiful, very nicely given, Vijayji, the perspective. So once a person understands that he cannot do anything to gain the eternal, and to do this, it is only realization, it's only recognition, right? All it requires is just that removing that veil of knowledge, veil of ignorance. So you don't do anything to gain the eternal. His way of life changes. Until now, all his energy and time have been invested in the pursuit of artha, kama, and dharma, or punya. Now, everything is turned towards moksha, because he has learned from analyzing his experiences and the experiences of others that no experience is going to help him. It is like that matra sparshastu kaunteya shitoshna sukha dukkadaha agama paino nityaha tam stitikshasva bharata. I think in the second chapter, Bhagavan tells Arjuna, there is, as the moment your sense organs contact the sense object, there is either pleasure or pain that comes out of that experience. But understand that the experience is limited. It is only, it's time bound. And then it can either give you pain or pleasure. Therefore, titikshasva. Therefore, you forbear them. And we've seen this time and again in our own life. We don't need to look at others. Of course, you learn from others also, but your own life you have seen so many times, and you're going round and round in circles. In spite of that, we continue to pursue artha, kama, and dharma or punya. So many people do not learn even from their own experiences. This is another wonder. Even though all his predecessors have passed away, and the fellow knows very well that he's standing in the queue. Here he means standing in the queue is the queue of death. Still, he cannot think that he is also going to pass away. We think we are eternalized. We eternalize ourselves. We know that this physical body is limited. It has its expiry date. But still we go on moving around in the world, hunting for happiness here and there. And like how Vijayji so beautifully mentioned, we direct all our efforts and energies outside to gain that happiness. This is the greatest wonder. This is the power of Maya. When a person sees through all that, naturally, whatever time he has is going to be invested in moksha. He has not sacrificed anything. He has just dropped what is not useful to him. What do you have? What you do not have value for is not given up by you. For example, you don't give up. You can talk about giving up if you give up something for which you have a value. But what can you say about parting with your garbage? You don't say, I give up my garbage. No, you just drop your garbage in the dustbin. Similarly, once a person realizes the worth of his human life and the pursuit of moksha, that you cannot gain moksha by doing things, by experiencing papa punya, then you will just drop it. You will just give it. You're not sacrificing anything. It just drops. If you have a value for moksha, what do you give up? Nothing. Yeah, it's clear now, Dr. Renu. So you don't give up anything in order to get onto the path of moksha. You realize you realize the valueless, or should I say, lack of value of the other pursuits. They are all like garbage to you. Artha kama and the papa punyas, all that is like garbage.
Thank you.
It is again for our understanding, correct understanding. It is not like you should become like a recluse and, not take care of yourself. No, that is not what is meant. The longing for it, the feverishness for it, and the desire that if I get artha, I will be happy. If I do this and I get punya, I'll be happy. That has to be dropped. You will continue to live your life natural, normal human being, but with the backdrop of moksha as your uppermost, like what Vijayji very beautifully said, your compass is directed now. You have a direction in life.
Means whatever you have, you don't feel value for it. There's means nothing. You are not dropping. There's no value for it.
Yeah, at the same time, it's not like you're disrespectful to it. You respect it.
No,
See,
to stay in the material life, stay in the material life, that is needed. But when your pursuit is moksha, that doesn't matter at all, whether it is there or not. You need not have to drop it. It is there actually. But your pursuit is in moksha, it doesn't mean anything, nothing. You are already purna. Purnamidam, purnamidam, purnat purnamudachyate.
Very nice. It is like once you know the value of satsanga, of the value of the truth of knowledge, you don't say, oh, I'm sacrificing watching FIFA and I'm doing this. You don't, because you don't have any value for that FIFA. If you have value for it and you're giving it up, then you'll say, I'm giving it up. I'm sacrificing. But here, your value system itself is steered away from that. The only value you have is for moksha. That is it. That is mumukshutvam, right? Moksho me bhuyat iti tivra ichha. That is the only pursuit you want to follow. That is the purushartha. That purushartha is. It is not
that
like
is what
it is not like in the bottom of your priority list. It is not. I have to do 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and moksha is also my priority. It is not also your priority. It is the only priority. Then you are a mumukshu. Otherwise, we are all like, what is it called? Country club Vedantins. That is what Swami Tattva Vivekananda says. He says, they know, they've gathered some knowledge here and there, some Atma Bodh, some Tattva Bodh, and then they go on talking. So it will become very superfluous, superficial.
So means clarity of mind comes,
right.
Purity of mind comes. That is what is siddhi.
Yeah.
What
Nanaji was telling.
Yeah. Pursuit of moksha is not selfish. Once you take to this pursuit, there are those who will say that you are self-centered. In fact, the Shastra asks you to be centered on the self. Everybody is self-centered, and anyone who says he's not has not understood the nature of his own pursuits. Typically, a person who does charitable work will say that he's not self-centered, that he's helping others. I would ask him, who are you to help others? So many people are necessary to keep you going. How many people have to work in the field of agriculture so that you have bread, you can have bread today? You are kept alive because of hundreds of forces. Who is working for whom? So many people are working for you, and you say you are doing some charity. If a person or society allows you to do some charity, that is the greatest charity. Everybody wants to be on the giving end. Nobody.
Wow, this is so beautiful.
Yeah. Everybody wants to be on the giving end. Nobody wants to be the recipient of anybody's charity. It is against human dignity. Therefore, if somebody receives from you, you must be blessed. Though the one who receives is obviously blessed, the one who gives is more blessed because he is able to give. That is the nature of charity. Further, why does one do a charitable?
No, because here, the clarity should be there. You are giving, but somebody has to take. You see?
Correct.
And that's somebody who takes it, he takes it with responsibility, you see, not that. Now everyone will be taking, that is different thing. That is not the, though person who is qualified has to receive it. So what you give will be used. So it's a beautiful there. It's very, very nicely said it. Therefore, when we do Shraddha or anything, we offer the food. So because they received that food, we give again some coins, after that. So that is what he is receiving it. That is big thing than giving it.
Correct.
It's called dakshina. Dakshina giving.
Dakshina, I know.
That is the dakshina, yes.
So we should feel blessed that there is a person who is taking whatever you're giving. That itself is a blessing, that there is a recipient of your dana or charity. That is the greatest blessing.
That is what it is written here, if a person or society allows you to do some charity, that is the greatest charity. Means he is receiving it. That is the greatest charity than what you are giving.
Correct.
That sentence is very, very beautiful. See, if a person or a society allows you to do some charity, that is the greatest charity.
So basically, he's saying it's not your greatness. It is there. Yeah, of course, giving charity is a very great, it's a good thing. But there should also be a recipient. And that itself is charity. Though the one who receives is obviously blessed, the one who gives is more blessed because he is able to give. That is the nature of charity. So for charity, both are important. That is why in the Shraddhatre Vibhaga Yoga, I think it is mentioned, Sapatra Danam has to be given. See, you want to give charity, you can give to any, just giving money to any organization or any group is not charity. Whether that group is actually eligible, whether they are actually in need. That is important, isn't it? Anyway, I think that's going a little deviant. I don't want to go into that right now. Let's continue with this. Further, why does one do a charitable action? If you say you cannot be happy in the face of the suffering of another, then you help that person so that you can be happy. That is very natural. You are part of the whole. And if there is some suffering there, you cannot be at ease. And so you try to do something about it. How is that selfless? It is all for your own sake, for your own growth and peace of mind. There is nothing wrong with that. I just want to make it clear that there is no such thing as selfless service. There is only self-service. Like he says, Atmanastu kamaya sarvam priyam bhavati. It may be a community self, or a national self, or a religious self, but every action, including a charitable action, is self-centered. In the pursuit of moksha, however, all one's attention, time, and resources are invested in one's own self-redemption. This is the greatest service you can do for society, because once you are free, you are no longer a problem to anyone. Positively speaking, you become a refuge for others. And just by knowing you, they can at least discover the hope of freedom. That is a great service. So beautiful. So there is no selfless service. It is only self-service. Because even when you give dana, you give charity, it is because there is some suffering there and you're not at ease because you are part of the whole. So some part of you is not well, you take care of it. So you're doing dana charity is like taking care of that part. So again, it is for whose sake? For your own sake, because you want to be happy. So everything is centered on you. And that is what even Vedanta says. Vedanta asks us to be centered on the self. And the greatest service to society you can do is by attaining moksha. In the pursuit of moksha, however, all one's attention, time, and resources are invested in one's own self-redemption. This is the greatest service you can do for society. Because once you are free, you are no longer a problem to anyone. We should underline that. This is the greatest service we can do.
Very big.
is pursuing moksha and rediscovering ourselves. That's it. Positively speaking, you become a refuge for others, and just by knowing you, they can at least discover the hope of freedom. That is a great service. To gain the necessary qualifications for this freedom, a life of karma yoga is enjoined, whereby you become free from the hold of likes and dislikes, ragas and dveshas. Please note that I do not say you should be free from raga dveshas, because I do not consider that there was ever anybody who was ever free from raga dveshas. Even Lord Krishna picked up only a flute, not a guitar. He had his own likes and dislikes, as did Shankara, Vashishta, or Vamadeva. Nobody is free from raga dveshas. They can be simple vibhutis, glories for you, or they can bind you. Whenever Shastra talks about raga dveshas, it is not talking about your non-binding likes and dislikes. Though Krishna had a preference for playing the flute, it was not a raga, because if the flute were not to be available, he would not sit and cry. That means he had a non-binding liking for the flute. This is what we must understand. How can likes and dislikes bind? If a liking is not fulfilled and frustration, depression, regret, or anger sets in, it is a binding like. The preparedness of mind that we talk about is purely psychological, and psychological conditions are arrived at purely cognitively. The mind requires an appropriate attitude, which is the outcome of a cognitive appreciation of certain facts. If you understand clearly the nature and connection of karma and its results, karma phala, that is a cognitive appreciation. And because of that understanding, there is a certain attitude. Attitude is, after all, emotion, and an adjustment in attitude born of your cognitive appreciation of certain facts is the method through which you grow up. The attitude is the symptom of your inner growth. Basically, what Swamiji is saying is how you perceive your experiences, whatever the attitude towards what your response to different things, that is what it is. And it is non-binding raga dveshas. No one
That
can
is
be
bhava. Bhava, attitude is bhava.
bhava, yeah. Suppose you suddenly come across a situation which is not very pleasant. You cannot trace your course of action to the outcome you are facing. And so it comes to you as a great surprise. Or it may be very pleasant, but definitely sudden. How are you going to deal with it? If you do not get elated or depressed, na abhinandati, na dveshti, you should appreciate the fact that you have made it. You are prepared. We can be sure that a person is not in the hands of raga dveshas when he does not seem to be bothered by any experience. It only makes him wiser. That person keeps moving, greeting each day afresh, so that his whole life is a series of events unfolding for him. That is all life is. Events just keep unfolding one after the other with each tick of the clock, each one different from all the others. What are you going to do? Are you going to be here to meet the new event, or are you going to be buried in the past? Usually, we are either in the cremation ground of the past or still in the womb, unborn. New events keep coming, and I have to be alert to receive the message each one carries with it. If there is a person who can do that, he has made it. Where is binding raga dvesha for such a person? He can sport a few more. Thus, when the Shastra talks about raga dveshas, it is referring purely to those that are binding. That is important to understand. Otherwise, we will be working for something which is not possible and illegitimately thinking that because we have raga dveshas, we have no knowledge, jnana. We are talking about moksha, freedom from trying to be somebody. Oh, this is so good. I'm just coming back to the music in Pune, Bombay, and all that, Percy ji. You know, I think when we are dealing with something which is unpleasant, somewhere, you know, it is when you trace the reason or the cause for that act, that whatever the experience we're going through, it may have some deep connection to karma phala, and you're going through that experience as it's the result of whatever your past deeds. So rather than go into kind of analyzing why it has happened, I think you take every event as it comes. That is, you know, here the fact of living in the moment and present moment is inevitable. It's so hitting hard in this last paragraph that we read. So beautifully Swamiji is mentioned. We can be sure that a person is, when he does not seem to be bothered by any experience, it only makes him wiser. That person keeps moving, greeting each day afresh, so that his whole life is a series of events unfolding for him. Basically, he's like in the witness consciousness. He's just witnessing frame by frame whatever is happening in his life, event by event. Not getting either elated, neither getting too depressed or frustrated. Events just keep unfolding one after the other with each tick of the clock, each one different from all the others. What are you going to do? Are you going to be here to meet the new event, or are you going to be buried in the past? If we are still under the clutches of raga, dveshas, or our vasanas, our past samskaras, then we will be experiencing whatever we are experiencing with this filter of our vasanas there, of raga, dveshas. Usually we are either in the cremation ground of the past or still in the womb, unborn. So we are either in the past or in the future. But new events keep coming, and I have to be alert to receive the message each one carries with it. If there is a person who can do that, he has made it. Where is binding raga, dvesha for such a person? He can sport a few more. Thus, when the Shastra talks about raga, dveshas, it is referring purely to those that are binding. That is important to understand. Otherwise, we will be working for something which is not possible. This is exactly what Gurudev says, no? When he talks of Vairagya, he says, Vairagya does not mean giving up everything and being like a recluse, growing long hair, long nails, not taking bath. That does not mean Vairagya. It is celebrating every moment, being in the moment, and not being feverish about the results, not being attached to the results. So we have no knowledge, Nana. We are talking about moksha, freedom from that is from trying to be somebody. A lot of people will say, be yourself. But how can I be myself when the self is not acceptable to me? The self must be acceptable, and that is where Vedanta comes in to show us that the self is absolutely acceptable. It is not simply validation of your problems, even though validation is very important in being fit for this knowledge. If you validate your problems, you understand that neither you nor anybody else has special problems. It is simply a situation of 1 + 1 being 2. Certain situations produce certain other psychological situations. Once you have validated yourself, you are ready for the journey. And this self-validation is gained by karma yoga. I've not really understood this validation part. Can anybody talk about it? Or if none of us is able to.
Validation means acceptable. You are confirming. It is not simply validation of your problems. Even though validation is very important in being fit for this knowledge. It has to be thought over.
Yeah, I didn't quite understand the whole import of this.
Even the previous paragraph where they talk about ragadveshas, it is binding, and then what happens? That Oh, yeah, I didn't get that either.
The binding raga dveshas, no?
Yeah, and then this is important to understand. Otherwise, you will be working for something which is not so, and illegitimately thinking that because we have raga dveshas, we
Because
have
see,
knowledge, jnana.
knowledge, jnana. See, we have
Okay,
an
so
understanding that the thing that because you have raga dvesha, because you have a liking for this, liking for gulab jamun, for instance, that
yeah,
you're not fit for knowledge. You'll illegitimately be judging yourself as not fit for knowledge. You understand? Here, what
yeah,
Swamiji is saying, it is not wrong to have liking for gulab jamun, but because gulab jamun is not there, that is the end of my life. I'm very miserable. That is a binding raga.
right.
He's giving the example of Krishna wanting to Krishna
Yeah,
playing flute,
yeah,
right?
that one, yeah. So
So
basically, you could have raga dveshas, but you're not bound to it.
correct.
Yeah. Okay. That doesn't mean that you don't have jnana. Or
Correct. It does
you're
not mean because
you
you have
can.
likes and dislikes that you're not eligible for knowledge. No, it does not mean that. Here,
Yeah.
that is why Gurudev also keeps saying, he says the world is there for you to enjoy. And it is through the world that you can actually attain moksha. It is there as a playing ground for you. So the world is there for us to experience, enjoy, but how are we doing this? Are we doing this getting bound by the raga dveshas, or are you, it is okay. I mean, whether it happens, not happens, you have a preference. Like for instance, you like to have a cup of tea every morning. You've gone to some resort and there they do not serve tea. So your tea, the preference for tea will become a binding raga if you think, oh, you know what, my whole day is gone. I've not had my cup of tea.
Right. Yeah.
But
True.
if you can go ahead with that day with a pleasant mind, saying, doesn't matter if I don't have my cup of tea, I will take something else. I'll substitute something else for it. Then
Yeah.
your raga for tea is a non-binding raga. The
True.
Shastra does not say having a preference for tea is wrong. It does not say that. You have to do something. I mean, you need to eat, drink to sustain the body. And in the course of that, you develop some preferences. Right? So I think that understanding is that it's a binding desire, which is wrong. Binding raga dveshas.
Got it. Thank you.
But this validation part, I could not really understand so well. I think like what Sureshji says, validation might just be acceptance, but I don't know whether I've understood it fully. If you validate your problems, you understand that neither you nor
We'll read it
See
from
the,
the and see.
excuse me, the validation definition. See, the act or a process of making something officially or legally acceptable or approved. It is, we are accepting it.
Correct.
Okay.
So approving and
So
accepting
it is not simply validation of your problems. Even though validation is very important in being fit for the knowledge. If you validate your problems, you understand that neither you or not anybody else has special problems. It is simply a situation of 1 + 1 being 2.
Right. It is a little, Swamiji is gone a little deep. I think we will have to read this one more time. And maybe we'll...
No, means we have to be in present. Means we are not saying problems have come. Okay, problems is there. It doesn't mean simply situation. It should be meaning that it is a simply situation of 1 + 1 being 2. It doesn't mean that if you validate your problems, you understand that neither you nor anybody else has special problems. That we have to.
Yeah, it's getting a bit clearer. So if you validate your problems, you understand that neither you nor anybody else has special problems. It is simply a situation of 1 + 1 being 2. Here it means maybe whatever you're experiencing is a result of your past action. It is a karma phala that you're experiencing, right? So certain situations produce certain other psychological situations. Once you have validated yourself or accepted yourself, you are ready for the journey. And this self-validation, I'm going to, substitute the term acceptance. And this self-acceptance is gained by karma yoga. Now in this, which karma is better? Sweeping the floor? Cooking a meal? There are 100 different things to do. I would like to know which one is better. None. What is better is for our attitude to grow, to understand the concept of duty, to see how beautiful it is. Once duty as a system is available, we are safe because there is no better system for growth. But humanity must be mature to accept that. An emotionally childish society cannot even understand what this is. It will see only disparity, control, etc. In fact, this is the greatest system if humanity is enlightened enough to appreciate it. There are different types of work, none of which is superior to another. People have different skills and we require different things to be done. So different people do different things. This is very well defined in a varnashrama structure. But even if it is not there, duty becomes highly visible at any place, at any time. It does not even have to be told. This is what is being said here. So beautiful it is. I've maybe understood some part of it, but we have to read this one more time.
But it is simply,
yeah.
simply stressing the point of our first point: accept situation and people as it comes. Yeah, not to think anything. Just accept it. Because we don't accept it, it becomes a problem. You know?
So first we start with opposite values are complementary. So we free ourselves from raga dvesha, okay?
Yes.
And then you accept people and situations as they are.
See, if you don't accept, then you dislike it, no?
Here, Swamiji is going one step further. It's not just accept people and situations. He's saying accept yourself. You accept yourself the way
you are.
You are. See, once you have validated yourself, you are ready for the journey. And this self-validation is gained by karma yoga. Now, in this karma yoga, in this karma, which is better? Which karma is better? Sweeping the floor or cooking a meal? There he says, whatever is to be done has to be done. Isn't it? What is better is for our attitude to grow, to understand the concept of duty, to see how beautiful it is. Once duty as a system is available, we are safe. So basically, again, he's talking of coming back to dharma, isn't it? You do at that given time what is required of you, you do. That becomes your duty.
Duty. That is swadharma again.
Swadharma. He's coming back to swadharma.
Swadharma.
So whether sweeping the floor, if the floor needs to be swept, you do it. If cooking a meal, so between cooking a meal and sweeping the floor is not the choice. It is your attitude at that point of time. What is necessary to do? It is not what is better. None is better. It is only our attitude to grow. See, that is
ultimately that comes no same thing. Accept to situation and
Yeah. And
Yeah, that is right.
if there are different types of work, so you cannot look down upon anyone. You know, the Varnashrama system becomes so beautifully, comes in clarity and perspective if you understand this. Sweeping the floor or cleaning the bathrooms is not inferior to, say, doing a puja in the temple. So you can't say a Shudra is lowly and a Brahmin is a Pujari is superior, because each one is doing what he is ordained to do. People have different skills and we require different things to be done. So different people do different things. This is very well defined in a Varnashrama structure. But even if it is not there, duty becomes highly visible at any place at any time.
So
it does not have to be told. This is what is being.
It is said that we are Shudra, we are Brahmana, we are Vaishya, and all these Varna in whole day. It may not, we may not be sticking to one.
Correct.
When we clean, when we do our cleanliness, it will become Shudra. You know, when we do puja, we become Brahman.
Correct.
And when we go and buy something, we become Vaishya. And when we protect from the thieves or anything, then we become Kshatriya. So in the whole day, we may go through all this Varna. You know, so nothing is superior, nothing is inferior. It has to be done, it has to be done. That's what, accept it, validate it. So good.
Very nice. So tomorrow we'll read this again. We'll go back and we'll continue tomorrow. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat Shri Krishna Arpanamastu. Jai Gurudev.